All right, guys, looking at number 10, this one's actually a little bit easier. It gives you the slope of the line, and it also tells you the y-intercept. The only thing that makes it a little bit different is you're writing it in standard form, so ax plus by equals c. Now, if I'm writing this in y-intercept form to start, using what I know, because I know the slope and I know the y-intercept, okay, it will look like y equals negative 2/3 x plus 9. And then to get it to standard form, I just need to take this x value and move it to the other side. So right now, since it's negative, those are actually a little easier because I can just add 2/3 x to both sides. And so what I end up with is 2/3 x plus y equals 9. Now, I'm actually going to erase this and write it a little higher because as I am writing it, I am realizing it's breaking one of our standard form rules. 2/3 x plus y equals 9. So a is positive. That's what this 2/3 is. That's what the a value is. But it is a fraction, and so we need to eliminate that fraction. And we do that by multiplying the entire equation by 3. Since we have a 3 in the denominator of our fraction, we would multiply it by 3 to cancel it out. And so when we multiply everything by 3, we are going to actually distribute it to everything inside of the equation. So we have 3 times 2/3, that is 6/3. And then we have 3 times y, that's 3y. And we have 3 times 9, that's 27. And now our purpose in doing that was to eliminate this fraction. And so when you simplify 6/3, you get 2x plus 3y equals 27. And that is our final equation in standard form. Now, for 11, all right, I'm going to keep moving here. This is, I normally don't work every problem on a practice, but like I said, this one's a little tougher. So I am going to work all of them for any students who want to go over the entire thing. So for 11, we have a line with a y-intercept of -2 and an x-intercept of 5. And this is helpful because if you just sketch this out real quick, you can find the slope. To get from this point, the y-intercept, to this point, the x-intercept, I need to go up 2 and over 5. Up 2 over 5. That means for my slope, I have a rise of 2 and a run of 5. So my slope is positive 2/5. Now that I have the slope and I have the y-intercept, I can write this in slope-intercept form, which is what it said to write everything in unless otherwise stated. So y equals mx plus b. I can then write y equals my slope plus my y-intercept, which is actually negative, so that will become, I don't know which color I picked. That will become a negative, -2. -2. That is our final answer solution for 11. All right, keeping it moving. For number 12, it says a line parallel to this line with a y-intercept of 5. So for two lines to be parallel, that means they have the same slope. But I currently don't know the slope. But once I find it, since I am given the y-intercept, I can go ahead and write it in slope-intercept form. So I have this 7x plus 2y equals 14, and I want to use that standard form, convert it to slope-intercept form, and then use that same slope. So the way I would do that is I would move the x over to the other side. That will cancel out, and I'll have 2y equals negative 7x plus 14. And then I also want to fully isolate this y, which means I'm going to divide everything here by 2. So that leaves me with y equals negative 7 over 2x plus 14 over 2 is 7. So is that my answer? No. This is the given line in slope-intercept form, which allows me to find my slope. Now, the line that the question is asking about is a line that's parallel to this one and has a different y-intercept. So the way I would write the parallel line would be y equals negative 7 over 2x, y-intercept of 5. So these two lines are parallel. This one crosses the y-axis through positive 7. This one crosses the y-axis through positive 5 and is our solution. Question number 13 says to write the equation of a line that is perpendicular to x minus 2y equals 6, and here's a point that it goes through. So hopefully you're already starting to recognize a pattern and can start to see where some of these are going. I know that this is standard form, so I'm going to need to convert it to slope-intercept. And then I've got a point, so I'm guessing I'm going to be using the point slope formula at some point. As you work more and more of these, hopefully you start to recognize these same patterns about everything. But if the line's perpendicular, if the line is perpendicular, that means the slope, just gonna put a little note out here, slope is the negative reciprocal, which we said earlier means to flip the sign and flip the fraction. So first thing I gotta do is I need to take this formula and convert it to slope-intercept form. The way I do that is I move the x over to the other side. So I have negative 2y equals negative x plus 6. And I also want to isolate this y, which means I need to divide everything here by negative 2. Now, that cancels out this 2. And it's understood that there's a 1 right there, and a negative divided by a negative actually gives me positive 1/2 x, and then 6 divided by negative 2, a positive divided by a negative, gives me a negative. So this equation is this line that we started with, but it's not our answer. We are looking for a line that is perpendicular to that one. And what we said there is that the slope is going to be the negative reciprocal. So if I have a slope here, okay, a slope there of 1/2, to find its negative reciprocal, I'm going to flip the fraction. I'm going to rewrite that. I didn't like how I did that. I'm going to flip the fraction. And I'm also going to change the sign so it goes from positive to negative. Negative 2 over 1, or negative 2, is the slope of my perpendicular line. it also goes through the point 3, 5. There's a lot to this problem. So now I have the slope, and now I have the point, and I'm going to plug that in, create a little boundary right here to show them. I'm going to plug that in to the point slope formula. Point slope formula that we introduced in our notes. And so what I need to do is distribute that -2. So I get y minus 5 equals -2x, and a -2 times a -3, negative times a negative gives me a positive. And then the last thing I'm going to do, I need to isolate the y, so I'm going to add 5 to both sides. And finally, the equation of a line perpendicular to the given line is y equals -2x plus 11. There is my answer. All right, a lot of steps to that one. Number 14 says a line passing through these points, choose the best answer. So I'm given 2 points. Whenever I'm given 2 points, I'm automatically thinking use the slope formula. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'm going to go ahead and label my points x1, y1, x2, y2. And then I'm going to take those numbers and plug them into the equation. So I've got 7 minus -1. 7 minus -1. I'm going to actually erase that just so it's a little clearer. You guys have the formula. It's in your notes. x2 is 7 minus y1. I said that backwards. Let me completely... y2 is 7 minus y1, which is -1, over x2, which is 6, minus x1, which is 3. Whenever you're subtracting a negative, it's just like you're adding. So 7 plus 1 equals 8. 6 minus 3 equals 3. So I know that the slope of my answer is 8 over 3. Do any of these answer choices have that slope? Well, A doesn't, B doesn't, C does, D does not. So the answer must be C. All right, almost finished. Stick with me. For question number 15, it says a line parallel, so same slope, to a line that goes, parallel to the line y equals -2, but it goes through this point. Well, what is unique about the line y equals -2 is that it is horizontal. If you don't remember from last class, your VUX acronyms, a horizontal line has a 0 slope and is written as y equals a number. So in this case, y equals -2 is a horizontal line that crosses down here at -2, and it just goes horizontally. Let me make that dash so it kind of stands apart. Goes horizontally forever. That's y equals -2. So I want a line that's parallel to that, which means it has the same slope. Well, if you're looking at a horizontal line, it has a slope of 0. It has no slope. It's flat. But I also want it to go through the point 3, 5. So it goes through, let me use a different color. 1, 2, 3, up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it goes through this point. Well, guess what? it's parallel to a line that is flat. So that means it is also flat. And how would I write that equation? Well, this one down here is y equals -2, and it passes through -2. And every one of these points on the line has a y value of -2. And if you look up here, every point on this line has a y value of 5. So the way we would write that is y equals 5. That is our final answer. All right, 16. Wants a line passing through the points in standard form. Starting off with 2 points, I'm always thinking slope formula. So what I like to do is label my points and then plug them into the slope formula. y2 is 8 minus y1. x2 is 1 minus x1, which is 8. So I have 8 minus 1, which is 7, over 1 minus 8, which is -7. And if I reduce this fraction, 7 over 7 is 1, and it's negative. So my slope is -1. It passes through the line, or through the points 8, 1, and 1, 8. 8, 1, and 1, 8. I still don't know my y-intercept, okay? So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to use point slope form. And I can use any one of these points. I'll go with this first one, all right? x1, y1. And I have my slope. So I've got y minus y1, which is 1, equals my slope, -1, times x minus 8, because that's x1. So if you remember from earlier, I got to distribute. -1 times x is -1x. -1 times -8, negative times a negative is positive. So I got y minus 1 equals -1x plus 8. And the very last step is to move over this 1. And that gives me y equals -x plus 9. Now, that is in slope-intercept form. So the very last step is to take that equation and to write it kind of working this way and this way and then this way. Sorry about the round and round. But the last thing I want to do is take y equals -x plus 9 and convert it to standard form. And so to do that, it's actually pretty easy in this situation. I just need to move the x to the other side. X plus y equals 9. Finished. All right, I'm running out of new colors here. This wants a line with an x-intercept of 3 and a y-intercept of -5. So again, just like 11 over here, if I was to sketch this out, it crosses the x at 1, 2, 3. It crosses the y at -5. So x crosses at 3, y crosses at -1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And between those points, I can find their slope. I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I go right 1, 2. So rise is 5, run is 2. That is my slope. I know the slope and I know the y-intercept because it's given. So it would be y equals 5 over 2x minus 5. Last question. A line perpendicular to y equals 2 and it passes through -4, 7. Now, a couple things here. Y equals -2. Y equals -2 is sorry, let me get caught up here. I'm not going to be high enough right there. That's okay. Let me correct this. Sorry about that. I need to go up all the way to 7. So makes more sense to just fix it on the front end. Makes even more sense to pick the pen when I want to write. All right, this graph will look more like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to be good enough. All right, I got a horizontal line at y equals -2. That means it goes horizontally right there with 0 slope. All right, slope equals 0. So how do I find the inverse reciprocal or negative reciprocal of 0 to make a perpendicular line? Well, I do know that this line needs to pass through -4, positive 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's going to pass through this point. But the parallel line would look like this. And the parallel line would be y equals 7. But I'm not looking for the parallel line. I'm looking for the perpendicular line, which means it crosses at a right angle, 90 degrees. And if I know that this line, the original, is perfectly flat, perfectly horizontal, that means my line that's perpendicular to it is perfectly vertical, and it passes through x at -4. And every x value on this line is -4. So I would write the equation of this red line as x equals -4. And that is the equation of a line perpendicular to y equals -2. And that is the last question of the 3.2 practice. That was a lot. Did a lot of math. Appreciate you sticking with me, and I hope that this helped.